Maybe not 30 because I forgot to hit our intro. So we're just running into this. We are
Okay.
flying blind right now. We want to welcome everybody back to another episode of Microsoft Unboxed. This is episode 75, I believe. We took a little time off, but we are back and without much Microsoft news, ironically. There was news in tech, news in gaming, but none of your core like legal drama, nothing big on the Windows front, nothing big on Office or Microsoft 365. There's some investments here and there for AI, and I think Satya Nadella reiterated some stuff about AI, but nothing newsworthy. We are going to tell you what we found newsworthy throughout the week, though, and that's Lenovo clarifying a statement they made last week, which again, we were off, but when they had this big hoopla and the media went crazy about this new Android PC, which again is not technically Chrome OS. This is a new version of Google's way to get into the PC market. And Lenovo's going to help them do it with a new thing called Android OS for PCs. They introduced that. We haven't seen what it looks like yet. But almost a week later, they were like, here's a fact sheet kind of. This is what it's going to be great at for businesses who are ready to invest this. And this is what it's not so good at. And this is where you may want a Windows PC. We're going to get the details of that. You wrote about, I believe, Connection Explorer. So we'll talk about that and how and what it does specifically to your PC. We're going to talk about Grand Theft Auto 6 missing another deadline and kind of get into, potential headwinds about what it's going through and why they missed the deadline. There's a little controversy on that. We're also going to be talking about Valve, which is now targeting specifically, got their sights set on, I believe, Microsoft, because they're reintroducing the Steam machine. We know from sales figures that PlayStation is out and above everybody else, but it looks like Steam wants to kind of wiggle its way past Nintendo and take that spot for Microsoft with this new Steam machine. We'll talk about why. Then we're going to explore that concept about Steam versus Windows and why this might be the perfect time for them to kind of take hold. And then we're going to talk about the next story, which is ASUS admitting that the Xbox, what is it, the Xbox Ally and the Ally X itself are selling out. So this is Microsoft's standoff, their gambit to be like, hey, if you're going to go after the old Windows people, we're going to go after the handheld people. That's where you can chase the old. As I think Wayne Gretzky used to say, go to where the puck is going, not to where the puck is. And so this might be Microsoft going to where they think it's going to be at. And then we're going to be talking about, we're going to kind of round up this podcast with a Windows Phone concept. We want to resurrect the dead. We're going to do a little.
You're digging deep there, buddy.
A little necromancy and bring back Windows Phone and just have a little fun with it and talk about why Microsoft gave up on just even having a launcher. We've resigned ourselves to not having a physical phone from you guys, which sucks because I think the Surface Duo was perfect. But at least work on the launcher. I mean, we're talking about why it's still viable in 2025 to have a Microsoft launcher. Then we're going to talk about Xbox free play days. That's what we got for you. I'm going to let my partner, David, kind of jump in and let us know how he's been doing this week, and then we're going to get into the stories.
Well, I'm hanging in there. As some of you know, it's been a rough week for me. My father passed away last week, so that's been weighing heavy. But I'm happy to get back here and get into some tech news, have a little distraction, and get back to having some fun with you folks. Let me just jump right in here. Our friends at Stardock, they put out some cool, unique software, sometimes things you wouldn't think of. And this is one of those things that you wouldn't think of. It was wrote by Brad Sams, who is the general manager / VP over at Stardock. It is called Connection Explorer. Now, what might that mean? And it really makes you think. It shows you in a geographic map where and what services your PC connects to. So, for example, you will see your OneDrive connect to various places over the United States, and I've seen mine a couple times in Canada, and you can see what these programs are accessing and where they are, and it might freak some people out when you see some of your traffic is going outside of the United States into countries where companies have servers to phone home to make you think, well, we're phoning home to Germany, we're phoning home to France, we're phoning home to Italy, Spain. I don't know of anything phoning home to Russia that I have seen any reports of, but I've seen phone homes to China reported. And you can also, if it's if this is your thing and something you want to be concerned about, you can set alerts to come up on your screen in your taskbar to say, hey, this app is connecting to Russia, and you said for us to tell you if anything connected to Russia. So you can get a nice alert and a nice view and a breakdown and the ability to search and see what your PC is connecting to. And I think this is unique because we generally work with firewalls in the sense of we don't want people connecting to us. And we just get on our PCs and we use these services. We use Microsoft Teams, we use Slack, we use Internet Explorer, and we don't think about where are we connecting to? Where are our devices phoning home to? Where are they looking for software updates? What information is being shared? So at least you can use Connections Explorer and see where your PC is connected to. Now, we'll throw this out there. It's in beta. Brad let me know that it's still holding the beta tag. He's still working on it. This is an app that Brad wrote himself. He's still working on it, and it's part of the Object Desktop suite from Stardock. So you'll have to be an Object Desktop subscriber, but it is a free beta inside of Object Desktop. But it is kind of neat to see where your PC connects, and a little frightening sometimes too.
Yeah, this is like the anti-VPN essentially, or at least the VPN for use. Everyone's always talking about, hey, get a VPN because you don't want people to know where you're trying to get stuff from. But it's equally important to know kind of where you're getting stuff from. You may not want your local torrent to know, but you do want to know where it's coming from, just in case. This also is a way to protect yourself from spam, viruses, other kind of eligible threats, especially if there's a known quantity or entity or country that's notorious for that. So I'm all for it. I don't know if Brad sent us any copies for it. If not, we'll reach out to him, see if we can give you guys a little follow-up, a little hands-on on how it is, if you guys are interested in that.
I reached out this morning. He had put in the bottom of his release and the communication we had that if we wanted a key to check it out, let him know. So I reached out to him this morning to get some keys.
All right. So you guys heard that. Our buddy David is on the clock for some hands-on. He'll follow up and hopefully he'll have a write-up for you guys and see if there's something you're interested in. And once it's out of beta, something you may want to go and purchase, help out a developer, help out yourself as well. Our next story is about Android PCs. I mentioned at the top that Lenovo is talking about a new way to basically introduce Chrome OS without introducing the baggage of Chrome OS, I suppose. I think it was last week, if I'm not mistaken. They talked about this new Android OS for PC. Again, not Chrome OS, which will eventually, I believe, combine Android of some sort. This is slightly different, but nevertheless, it's something that Lenovo wanted to do, and they're going to be offering these Lenovo PCs that are designed for that. I'm assuming specifically for businesses. I don't know if they're going to offer Android OS PC to compete against its own Chromebooks, at least commercially speaking. But nevertheless, it took only about a week, I think, and maybe it was just a little consternation within the tech industry asking like, hey, what's the difference between this? Or how is this better or different than maybe just getting a cheap Windows PC? And Lenovo came out with a press release this week saying that, ladies and gentlemen, it's not better. It's different. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what they said. Their new bold vision for it basically comes down to that Android OS will be better for, let me see if I get the actual quote for you guys. It is almost limitless in its flexibility, and it'll be great and efficient for taking advantage of battery life, updates of certain servers, uh, accessibility to all your Android apps that you're currently using on your phone. So if you have a company app that you need to use that maybe only has an Android app because of its portability, mobility, or whatnot, you'll be able to use it on this laptop. There are a lot of times where there are niche or specific Android apps that are only made for Android and nowhere else. And sometimes you have to do a whole bunch of tinkering with I think it's a BlueStack or something like that in order to get the accessibility app because it's only triggered to hardware on a phone. Now you'll be able to do that on your desktop. So again, if you are out in the field and maybe your business uses a specific Android app to do warehouse inventory or something like that because it's only meant to be used on a phone, now you'll be able to kind of pull that up and sit down at your desktop and really dig into that. But like I said, for all the benefits of this thing, they eventually came out and said you're still going to want to get a PC, a Windows-based PC, in order to do some of the more heavy lifting stuff from a productivity standpoint. I just wanted to write about this because, again, we don't know what this Android PC OS is going to look, or Android OS for PC is going to look like, or specifically what functions makes it function different than a Chrome OS laptop. But they're already trying to set expectations. What are your thoughts on this? Because you and I had a conversation off mic about, hey, we already knew this. This is kind of the thing that we've been saying for almost a decade and a half now, almost two, I think, about Chrome OS, Android, and Google's attempts to make an operating system.
Well, I think it's time for it because I'll give you a good example. I've got a Lenovo Chromebook in my possession, and I have a Chromebook that I bought 2 or 3 years ago for a very specific use in my possession. And it's aggravating sometimes when you want to run an app and it says, oh, it's an Android app. You can't run it, but you can run something else, but so I feel like this is I don't want to say this is the Android way of becoming Apple. And I'm going to explain that. If you've got an Android PC there and an Android phone, in theory, they should communicate. The Android phones communicate very well with Chromebook, but there's still those gaps of certain apps run, certain apps don't, certain functions work, certain functions do not. So if we get to a place where you can combine those two, and then if we get to a place where developers start making commercialized apps, you've got competition, and I'm all for competition. I want to see, the more competition and the more pressure we can put on Apple and Microsoft to make better OSs, I think it's a win for everybody. We all know Apple needs to do some things better. We know Microsoft needs to do some things better. Chrome is not a bad operating system. I don't have a whole lot of complaints with Chrome, except for these gaps where it won't run certain apps that you expect it to run because they're Android based. And there is a large gap for commercialized apps because most things that you run on Chrome are web based. It just loads a browser in the background and takes you to whatever it is. For example, Google Docs. You click Google Docs on a Chromebook, you're clicking an icon, but it's going to load Chrome and it's going to take you to the website. So it's all about what developers do with it. And I hope developers grab it and run with it. But I also understand why Lenovo says, oh, you still need a Windows PC. Yes. What does Lenovo make the most of? How many licensings do they sell? I would expect Dell and Acer and ASUS to say the same thing. You don't kill what pays the bills. So I get it.
I find it interesting too. Just one last note before we close this out. There's going to be a blending, such a grayness across the board for PCs and the functionality, because we have Chrome OS, which will adopt some aspects of Android in order to make it better, I suppose. And then there's Android OS for PC, whatever this is going to be. And then there's Windows PCs that use Snapdragon chips, which have made Android a viable alternative in the mobile market. So and I say that because a lot of the advantages that are held up for Android OS and PCs and for Chromebooks are starting to be offered for Windows-based operating systems. The battery life, the streaming capabilities, the productivity is already there. Again, if you aside from the accessibility to the vast uh, number of Android apps, which again, if you can find them done as a PWA somewhere, you're right there on board. Windows PCs will have a lot of those advantages that Android OS PCs will have, and that Chrome OS has with some of the productivity advantages as well. And it's just going to really become like it's not going to be the divide it used to be, where it's like, hey, you don't have to worry about security, you don't have to worry about battery, you don't have to worry about ease of use. When you get a Chrome OS book, now you're going to have to say, all right, well, the battery life is negligible. Security in Windows, I believe, again, I know it's been a joke, a running joke for a long time, but I haven't had a breakdown, knock on wood, on a PC, I wouldn't say in the last 10 years or so. Like, I haven't had the blue screen of death. I haven't had any of that. Now, I've had issues with drivers, don't get me wrong. There's been some wonkiness with that. Display, it's kind of being off and things like that. But it hasn't been the Windows crashed, Windows got spam, Windows broke down situations that we've always been told about. So, and again, it's just anecdotal, but it feels like the only issue that I'm having with Windows PCs are essentially the battery life. And it feels like with the Snapdragon chipsets, that's going to be going the way, hopefully, of the Dodo. So we'll see. Moving on to our next topic, we're going to get out of productivity and business and all the boring stuff. Get into some gaming. We got some stories about Grand Theft Auto. I'm going to let you kind of run with the headline, and then we'll get into the details.
Well, let me get this headline pulled up because I believe this was actually one of yours. So let me slip over to your headline so I can get this read just right here. Well, guess what, folks? We've got a Grand Theft Auto delay. Is anybody surprised by this? Let me see. Rockstar pushed Grand Theft Auto 6 back to November 19th of 2026, citing the need for polish. But behind the PR spin lies a deeper crisis, mass firings across the UK and Canada for union-based allegations and protests outside of Take-Two's London office. So, we can protest things and get a product delayed. Now you're back. For those that were looking for this game in fall of 2026, I think it had gone from fall 2026 to spring 2026. Well, guess what? Now you're waiting another year, essentially, because today is what, the 14th. So basically, if this date sticks, you're looking at another year. So I'm gonna just call it what it is. This game better be one hell of a game, and it better be bug free, and it better be absolutely awesome, and it better not be $80 like they attempted to say it was going to be 2 or 3 press releases ago when we talked about games pushing to $80. So I get it. I'm not a huge Grand Theft Auto player. I do pay attention to the game, but it's not something I pick up, and run home to play. So yeah.
Well, I got some bad news for you, partner. It will have bugs. It will be over $80, and it may get pushed back into the beginning of 2027. Who knows? Because as you mentioned at the top, these are allegations of, I think, aside from the quality that they say that they want to implement. Again, they've been working on this thing for almost a decade now.
How good can a game be?
I mean, granted, Grand Theft Auto 5 is probably one of the best-selling games out there, one of the best-selling pieces of media over the last 10 years. So they do have a track record. I will not take that from it. I may be snarky and cynical, but they do have the track record of having a really great game, and they only expanded that with the online presence that was eventually added, I think 5-6 years ago or something like that. It's taken it to another level. I do expect this game to be very good. It is the most watched trailer on YouTube, I think, as of now. I think that if you guys go check out the numbers, it's ridiculous. So there's anticipation for it. But the idea of them delaying it another year to work out the bugs. I mean, it's an open world. I think people are going to find bugs. That is the fun aspect of these type of games. Now, it isn't, as long as they don't kill the gameplay itself, these are fun, quirky things to find out. And I think there will be some of those. I think because they are extending it another year, not bringing in income or revenue or profit, that's already going to be like, hey, we need to release this with a little higher price tag in order to supplement the year that we didn't get revenue, we didn't get any profit, we didn't technically make any money, even though the deadline, I'm sure all of the bean counters are like, hey, starting, spring 2025, this is when we should start making money to bring back and start paying all the stuff, the investments that we had. Okay, we pushed it back to the fall of 2025. Okay, now we're pushing back a whole nother year. And that's another year of, however much money they allotted for this project. I said all this to say that while those may be legitimate reasons, it was just mentioned, as you said, that there was allegations of union busting. That some of the developers, I think 30 of them across the UK and Canada, were let go because, as Rockstar is claiming, that they were in a group chat revealing confidential information. That was what they said. The people who were fired said they were in a union group chat on, I think it's WhatsApp, if I'm not mistaken, and that they were sharing union information, and that Rockstar got hold of that.
Are you sure it wasn't Signal? It wasn't Signal, was it?
I mean, that's I mean, the president would have been on that one.
Yeah.
We would hear from the president right now if that were the case. But no, they said that they were let go because they were, organizing, for a union, and so that's he said, she said. We'll see if there's a court date at some point in the future that will help either defend one or the other. Where I'm not taking sides on this, but I think that has something to do with it. When you let go of the 30 developers, depending on what they were working on, that could be huge, especially if you need to either allocate new developers to it or hire new people in order to catch up. That's maybe why they gave them a year to be like, hey, you have 3 months or a month to get on track and finish with these guys, these 30 people that we just let go do. I don't know where they're at in the stack of the development. But I said all this to say there was a knee-jerk reaction from myself that said, hey, not only are you delaying the game, but I firmly believe we are in a rolling recession that's only going to get worse.
Yes.
Come this winter and all throughout next year, when there are 1 million jobs being cut in all 2025, and there's no prospect of growth from the gaming industry. There are you won't be getting more developers to come help speed up the project or help do all that Q&A to make sure that it's bug free. You're basically just getting rid of them and hoping that AI catches this stuff. When they release this game, I think gamers, as much as we've been anticipating, are going to say, hey, I've either invested in something else already, currently maybe the Switch 2 or something like that, which is also expensive. I don't have the financial bandwidth to carry this game. And maybe, who knows, if there's not a console behind it, or, maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they're releasing it with the console in mind, saying, hey, we know that Microsoft and Sony will be releasing consoles next year. This is how we tie ourselves to that release so that when people buy the console, they will buy the one game for a long time, even though it's, $100. This is my $700 console, my $100 game. I'm done for 2 years. And maybe that's the wave they're going to use. Or there is no console and they're just saying, hey, we have to drop it when we can, and hopefully, catch an audience that hasn't spent money or any more additional money on Call of Duty, Madden, or any other thing else that comes seasonally. We can drop it right in this slot and make as much money as we can. I don't see that happening. I see they're going to drop it, and people are going to be like, "That's great, cool game." For those gamers who can afford the financial bandwidth to be on every console and maybe do this as a way to make money themselves, reviewers are all on Twitch and stuff like that. They're all playing it. Maybe people will watch and be like, hey, that looks cool. I'll watch somebody else play for right now because I don't have the money in this economy to spend on an $80+ game, as great as it may be.
Well, I want to throw one question out at you because we have talked about this and we're getting ready to talk about it again. If we've got a game that is postponed until November of 2026, all right, game developers know what console makers and what PC makers are up to. And we're debating when, what, where, and how the next console launch is going to be. So, could there be a play in here for we know what's coming for the next console? We're going to push it back to November of 2026, and the Xbox Series X2 will be poking around, and we're going to be the exclusive title because we're going to push it back one more time at some point in that, or push it back and go, okay, launch Christmas 2026. Okay, and we know what Microsoft is going to do, so we're the flagship title on the Xbox Series X2. Because if you look at it from just a game releasing, are we assuming that the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 in their current forms are still the top consoles for next year? And people are willing to buy this blockbuster title of a game for a console that by then should be almost ready to head out the door? I don't.
Well, that is where I said they have precedent for this because they did that with the Xbox with the Grand Theft Auto 5 that spanned across, I think it was the Xbox 360, right? Or is it? No, it was the Xbox One and the Xbox Series.
Okay.
Because it came out, I believe, at the beginning of the Xbox One, if I'm not mistaken, or the end of the Xbox 360. I forget. I'm just throwing numbers out here, but let me look that up. I know it spanned almost 2.5, 3 console generations. So there is a precedent for people saying, all right, I bought it on the Xbox One. I'll rebuy it for the Xbox Series, unfortunately. And this is where, Microsoft made good on the backwards compatibility thing so that people didn't have to do that necessarily. But it was, I think, a thing for PlayStation 2 as well. I think it was PlayStation 4 and then PlayStation 5. And then they have the new Super PlayStation 5 or whatever. And I don't think you can, I'm not sure if you can buy it separately for any of those. So let's see. It came out in 2013.
And I will throw a bone out to say normally when you get a new console launch, there's some type of new technology that pushes that console launch forward. Like when the Series X come out, we were all about FPS and 4K. So at least whatever this next console is, we don't know yet of a new technology that's going to be in that console to push it forward. So maybe they could release this Grand Theft Auto and say, look, you get 4K 120 on the Series X, you get 4K 120 HDR on whatever the new is, and it's a matter of what fidelity do you want to play at.
Yeah, I mean, just to put it in perspective, as we were saying, it came out during the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 days. We are now on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series. So it's been 3 consoles beyond a decade-old game. So I'm assuming the longevity of this version will span, the Series S, whatever the next version is, and this Xbox Series, maybe the next, handheld in the future. It will all be played, we'll all be playing Xbox, Grand Theft Auto 6 on it. Bottom line is, it's delayed, so you can't be too upset at what you've never had. So those gamers. There are plenty of games. There are plenty of games that we can currently play for the next year. Enjoy those. Enjoy, especially old games that you already own that are free. Really enjoy those. And then you can find retro games, find games in discount on Steam or in the Xbox library or on PSN network. Play all of those old games that are $10-$14 or whatever. Save your money. Consider Rockstar doing you a favor until whenever this is or isn't released. I just think it may be a miscalculation not to release it now when people still have some funds and the economy is a little less tight than I predict it will be in the next 8 to 10 months. So, and again, I could be wrong. Maybe something comes January 1st and we're all flush with money. Who knows? But I don't see the trends going that way, especially like I said with the way inflation's going, with the way that jobs are harder and harder to get for just normal people. The fact that most people need 2 or 3 jobs to survive. The fact that I think it was the fast food industry index is saying that a lot of people aren't buying fast food anymore, and that's usually an indicator of disposable income.
I saw that.
You can go out and buy like a Happy Meal or a Big Mac, a number one combo or something like that. People can't even afford to do that anymore. I don't see them being able to be saying, "Hey, I can." Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're saying, "I won't buy a Big Mac combo or the Baja Fresh deal at Taco Bell because I'm saving for Grand Theft Auto next year." Maybe people were fiscally sound.
I'm gonna throw this out there, and I'm gonna say this really quick. You bring up a good point there. My little niece, she's age 6. She loves her McDonald's Happy Meal like most 6-year-olds do.
Oh yeah.
She also enjoys the occasional just plain chocolate Hershey bars in the dark brown containers. And when you buy these things and you DoorDash and you Instacart and all that good stuff, you get, and even when you shop at your regular grocery stores, sometimes you can go back and you can look at your old receipts. And my grocery list is pretty much the same all the time. We don't, we like what we like, and we might try something new once in a while, but it's not something that we do regularly. And I was looking back, and a year ago, a 6 pack of Hershey bars, just the Hershey chocolate bars, was roughly $3.22. Well, at Halloween here, just a week or so ago, a thing of 6 pack of Hershey bars was $8.32. So you know you don't catch that trend over a year because it's what you like and it's what you buy, and there's certain things we're just going to pay for up to a point, no matter what they cost. So as you mentioned, that's almost triple. That we've gone up in a year. So people are going to have to decide: is this the discretionary income worth a copy of Grand Theft Auto or not?
We shall see. Moving on to our next topic, talking about discretionary income. Would you put up some money for a reintroduced Steam machine? That's right. We're not talking. What year was that the first one was introduced? Let me double check. But Valve is back at it again. They weren't content with the Steam Deck, which I think was a hit. They wanted to.
Still
I think they
is.
want to. Still, yeah, still is. I say that passage, but yeah, you're correct. Still is. They want to own the casual, I think. Unlike when they did it the first time around. The first time around, I think it was just a proof of concept to say, hey, we can offer you PC like gaming without the PC itself. You can use your PC for something else. You don't have to worry about fans. You don't have to worry about upgrading PCIe. You don't have to worry about GPUs. We'll give you the PC feel and effect, but with the plug and play of a console. I think this time around they're saying we want to do the console.
I
What are your
I
thoughts?
th-
This is your
I
story.
th- I think this time they're coming with the gloves on. I think that they're ready to throw some punches. I just give you guys a quick heads up of what we're talking about here. We've got, let's see, let me get my headlines up where I had yours up. There we go. Let me scroll down here. Okay. The Steam Machine, let's go over roughly what it is. The Steam Machine 2026 is a compact 6-inch cube designed for your living room gaming, and it runs SteamOS, which, as we know, is a Linux based OS. We've also got a brand new Steam controller, which is reimagined magnetic thumbsticks, which you've got a picture there on the screen for those that are watching us visually. It borrows its design from the Steam Deck's design language. Imagine that they're pulling, some type of spirit from the Steam Deck. That's what we'll call it. And without going deep into details here of specs and everything, they do say that it will be capable of 4K. We're looking at 16 gigs of RAM, and it may be powered by a Snapdragon processor, because guess what? When you run Linux as your back end, you can do that. You can get away with some of those things, and I think that's what's going on here. But I think there's a bigger picture. The Steam box, the first time it came out, was just, can we do this? Dell made one. It kind of slipped into the Alienware lineup for a while, as a branded box that ran Steam OS. But this time, Steam has what Microsoft keeps telling us we're going to have. What do they have? They have the store. The store. They have the interface. The interface. The all-in-one experience. The all-in-one experience. And the hints are we don't have a price yet, that this will be somewhere between possibly the low end $300 range, possibly upper end $500 range. Falls right in where other consoles sit, correct? So here's my question to you, and here's my question to all the gamers out there. This is what we keep hearing Microsoft say they want to do. Valve already has the arrangements with the publishers in their stores. Those arrangements are there. So if you can buy a game on your Steam box and put it in your Steam library, access it on your TV in 4K glory, you can play it on your high-end PC. You can play it on your Steam Deck. You can use Steam Link to stream said game to other devices. And all Steam had to do was offer a console, something to run Steam OS. That's all they had to do. And they have accomplished what we're still waiting on Microsoft to figure out. And they've done it without Windows. They've done it without a clunky operating system. They've done it without you having to play with settings. They've kind of done it backwards of Microsoft and PlayStation. They've gone from handheld to console type experience instead of console to handheld. And I think that's where you're going to see Steam put up one heck of a fight.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that they are aiming for the right area. I think this is something that both Microsoft and Steam are kind of converging on as far as this accessibility of the PC, but not tied to the tower or a power hungry laptop that has to be plugged in constantly. At least not those traditional versions. Again, I know the Steam machine will have to be plugged in, but they're also, I mean, part of, because this was a big hardware announcement. As much as you and I are focusing on the box itself, which looks cool, and I think they even showed here, if you look at the trailer, like some custom plates you can add to it, which is something I don't think you can necessarily do as easily with the Xbox. For those of you who are listening, the Steam machine does take some inspiration from the Xbox. It's not as tall, but that same boxy kind of look and feel. What else? The other thing they announced was the VR headset, wasn't it? Which goes after Meta as well.
Yeah.
So and go ahead.
I was going to say that also interfaces with this Steam box. I did see a demo of that. So, that's another weapon that Steam has thrown in the battle. Like, Microsoft, you did an Xbox branded Meta headset that everybody talked about for like a week. Okay, now PlayStation did theirs. Everybody talked about it for 2 weeks. So now Meta has done theirs, and Meta has even made theirs PC compatible. So it's not just a standalone headset. And I think people might actually buy the combo in this case.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because again, for Meta, the problem has currently been the gaming aspect of it. Yeah, the hardware is, from what everyone says, top notch. Like, it feels good, it feels premium. Everything feels like it's been made with quality, but it's Meta games. It's not the full robust things that you would expect to see in VR. Steam, will have the advantage on that when you can play. I think they're even demoing in the video, in the demo, Hades on the VR set. So they're going to come with a full library that's going to pretty much undercut Meta in their efforts. They're going to come with a full library, which is going to undercut Microsoft in the PC area. Like again, Steam's biggest advantage is its library and its accessibility. So if they can port that across these new hardware experiences, they will, start off in second place. I would argue. The only thing they're second to is PlayStation, because PlayStation has a network of people they've cultivated over the last 10 years that Microsoft has been losing, thanks to exclusives, thanks to the way that they've been branding, thanks to some missteps in the market because of that. But if you're selling 80 plus million consoles, you got to believe that some of that from that niche gaming market is from Xbox, and now they have friends on PlayStation. They're no longer loyal to Xbox, which now, if Steam can show up and say, hey, we also have, PlayStation has been forced to put their games on PC as well. We also have those games as well. I'm going to start going. I'm going to tell my friends, like, hey, you come with me where I have a bigger library. Yeah, I have a library on PlayStation, but it's not as big as the one I have on Steam. Let's all start playing there. Let's all start using, Discord. These are easier ways for us to get more gameplay out of, whichever platform we decide to back. So it's going to be tough going, I think, for both Meta and Microsoft when it comes to convincing people that, while we're open and extensible and allowing you guys to do that, we're where you want to be at. When, again, a lot of the benefits of gaming are found, again, on Steam or on PlayStation. So I'm looking forward to trying this out, though. I think as I move, I think you and I have spoken anecdotally about our experiences with handhelds. I've been moving more and more towards putting stuff on my Steam library, even though I have a handheld that is Windows, as the Windows operating system. Being able to have Steam on there and then clicking into it and getting the, I'm not a big keyboard warrior, but being able to use the analog sticks, things like that on these games on Steam, I'm more apt to do it there, especially with the way Microsoft's been kind of playing with the numbers on Game Pass. I don't feel secure in investing more into that currently. Now I'll keep what I have, but going forward, if I can just buy a game, especially with Steam when they have so many deals, and then I can trust that that game will be there, and not that, at that price, I don't need to have a subscription. I don't need to pay monthly. I can just, go 7 months without even opening up Steam, hop right back in and start playing that game. That's a better value proposition for me than saying, all right, I went 7 months without Xbox Game Pass or whatever. Now I got to pay to get that game back, or whatever. So
I'll give you a prime example, and I may have brought this up before. Battlefield 6, great game, very popular. People have adapted to it, and they seem to be enjoying it. It's available for PlayStation. It's available for Xbox. It's available for PC. I bought it under Steam. I bought it under Steam for the idea of I can enjoy it on my high resolution PC screen, but I can also now pick it up and throw it on my handheld and enjoy it that way. And I can also, if I really needed to do something, I can stream it from my PC to my handheld and play the game. I can't do that with Xbox because Xbox doesn't have the licensing or whatever it is that's required to put a game in xCloud. GeForce Now has Battlefield 6 in xCloud if you want, if that's all you had and you wanted to pay for something extra to be able to game on your Snapdragon PC. It's all about people buying things that matches where they want them to be accessible, where they want to use them. And I think Steam, the Steam box, and the Steam Deck are going to be the place to go.
Well, and I had looked up. The Steam Machine came out in 2015, so it's been 10 years. I feel like they were ahead of the game. Yeah, we're old, but they were ahead of the game, and I feel like they're about to do it again because rumors are that Microsoft is making basically a Windows PC as its next Xbox. It is not going to do. I don't think it's had the same proprietary operating system as the Xbox did, where it's not extensible. You can't really build on it. It has its own separate code. I think it's going to be roughly an amalgamation of Windows itself and the Xbox app kind of put together in a way that's a little easier to maintain, but you still have all of the APIs and hooks to make it accessible across different gaming stores and things like that as you would a PC. So if Steam can, Steam's trying to beat them there, I think, with this version of their box, saying, hey, we're going to give you access to your PC library in this box, and Microsoft saying we're going to give you access to PC features in our box. So, and if this thing is, again, like you said, around $400 or $500, it's already, I believe, coming in cheaper than what the rumored new Xbox is going to be, and that could also be something forward. So it's going to be exciting times as a viewer, not as someone buying. I advise everyone to observe 2026.
Yes,
and whenever the next set of consoles come out, just watch and see where they're going, where you think your best money or your money's going to be best spent over time, not because, hey, there's a flashy trailer and I wanted to go out and have the new thing. Just watch and see if whatever console or whatever brand you decide to back, where you think they might be going, and if that's worth your time. And again, that always comes with perspective. If you watch something, I went out and bought an Xbox One. Who knew the Kinect was ever going to work again? Silly me.
The Kinect, what a memory / failure that was.
Exactly. If I had just waited, I don't know, maybe a year or two, I found out they weren't going to sell that hardware anymore.
You just wanted to do jumping jacks in front of your television. That's what you wanted to do.
I still do, because I still have the Kinect somewhere. Okay, I have to get my money's worth. Next story, we got ASUS admitting that the Ally X has a supply gap. We've just been talking about gaming and kind of where we think the future is going to be at, and so far it looks like handhelds might be just it. Now, again, granted, they may have just made a limited supply, and fortunately for them, they were able to sell out that limited supply, which is just good. Logistics. That's just good on their part, not having a surplus, so to speak, and you're not sitting on a bunch of stuff. But it's also kind of key to showing that there is a demand. The Xbox Ally isn't just selling well; it's exceeding ASUS's expectations to the point of shortages. During the investors' call, ASUS revealed that the handheld could generate up to $160 million just this quarter, cementing it as a new pillar for the ROG gaming portfolio. Demand for and again, this is $999. Almost $1,000 with tax and stuff. Top tier model was underestimated, leaving a supply gap in that ASUS is now scrambling to kind of fill. So they're probably going back to China saying, "Hey, give us more." And China's like, "Tariffs," and they're like, "Oh, we forgot." So maybe they're working that out at some point. But it's good to see that that's working for them, and I hope that others follow suit. I hope Dell comes out with an Alienware version because they do great hardware. They have a gaming portfolio. We'll hopefully see Microsoft's Surface version of this or Xbox version. Again, just a reminder, the ASUS, the Allies are powered by AMD's Z2 chips. They run Windows. I don't think they don't have a Steam version like Lenovo does somewhere. And that they are hinting at a future where the Xbox is, again, less of the console thing. I know we've already talked about Xbox making their console one last box, but I think, Sarah Bond, I think her name is, and Phil Spencer talked about they've been testing handhelds. So, maybe the next couple of years, that's what I'm saying. Don't run out and buy these boxes. Maybe the handhelds are where it's at, and then you just hook up an HDMI cord to it, and there you go. You have the best of both worlds. So, what are your thoughts on them doing well with the handheld? Did you foresee this coming?
I didn't foresee this coming. I think from what I have seen on Reddit and what I have seen on social media, I think a lot of people are thrilled with a handheld and they're enjoying the handheld and the performance and what they're getting out of it. And I've seen, people, hooking them into their car displays, in their cars. Well, I'm waiting on my wife or I'm waiting on my husband. I'm sitting here playing games. Look what I can do with, my Ally. But I do see the group of people that are a little bit disappointed because this was marketed as the Xbox Ally, and they didn't totally understand that they were going to have to deal with Windows. So we're back, we're back to that in some cases. But I've not seen anybody, threaten to throw the thing against the wall or threaten to put it in the return, back in the box and return it. I think most people are hanging on to it. And I would like to get one myself eventually. And if you notice, the pre-orders at Best Buy and places like that, the ship dates. I looked yesterday, we were all the way back to December 19th. So you may not get one and put under the Christmas tree this year. And I think that's a big miss by ASUS and by Microsoft that, Christmas sales, if you don't get them, you're probably not, because parents and adults too are going to go spend that. Well, if I can't buy my kid or my husband or my wife the $1,000 Ally that they want, what am I going to spend that $1,000 on to put them something under the Christmas tree? There's going to be another choice made there.
And you know what that choice is?
What's
a Nintendo Switch with an $80 Donkey Kong game.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, do you remember that? Where like your parents were
Yeah.
buying you something they thought was the exact same thing as something else you wore, and you're like, Mom, this is an Atari, not a Nintendo. You're way off.
Yeah, that happened a few times growing up. I think everybody kind of went through that. If you were a gamer or into technology, I think we all went through that a time or two.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, to your point, that opens up the lane for the Switch too. If you can't get in, if they think that the handheld is the experience, not the centerpiece, it's just, hey, he wants something that he can put in his hands and play. She can play.
Or it opens up the Steam Deck. They're still available.
Bam! There you go. And they're actually on sale sometimes. So, again, keep your eye, keep your head on the swivel out there in the gaming world. It is more active than it has been, and it's very exciting. More exciting than it has been in the last 10 years, when we were just like, okay, how many frames per second can the PlayStation push? How many frames per second can the Xbox push? And that was all we had to talk about. We're going to, this one's running a little long. We're going to round out with our Windows Astra discussion. It is a project that I found thanks to Kevin over at Windows Central. He had a nice write-up about this project that somebody basically created. It's a concept of what it would be like to run Windows Phone and kind of incorporate the tile design and language in a modern day phone. And so, for those of you who are listening, we'll try and do our best to describe some of what we're going to see here. But I think it's pretty awesome. It's something that, we haven't talked about in a long time, because we've given up on Windows Phone. We've given up on Microsoft being in phones altogether, which I think is a bad idea. I'm not saying that they need to go out and build or buy, another, company, or put a whole country out of business like they did with Nokia and Lumia and stuff like that. But I think they could at least invest in the launcher. And that's what this concept, I think, does. And again, it offers a lot of, what we see as far as the mixture between the Pixel and the Samsung One UI. It's a lot of rounded corners, but not to the point of bubbles that you would necessarily get with like the Material U design. A lot of, squircles, so to speak. It's stuff you would see probably in iOS, but with a lot of flair from Android. And it had the concept of tiles, essentially, which are basically, if you could imagine what the Samsung One UI 8 looks like, where they have this new expanded folders. So they're just larger squares with information in on them. So you can have your square, the normal size for an icon, or you can have a 2/3 square, which will have much more information on it. Or you can have, just like we have widgets everywhere now, because widgets have made a comeback, which all tiles were just widgets. Or you can have a bunch of mini widgets, long widgets, rectangle widgets everywhere. With the spacing, there's enough spacing in there so it doesn't look like the Windows UI, but it gives you that same feel. A lot of widgets on the screen. The UI player will sort of remind you of Metro, because it's very minimalistic, not a lot there, but still designed enough to let you know, hey, it's running Android, or it's YouTube player or YouTube Music Player, or Spotify. They do I think they have the app drawer. It's just like you would have found if you were still using Microsoft Launcher, where it's the letters down one side, and you can kind of scroll quickly through that. If you are a memory person and you know what your icon looks like, it's probably easier for you to do it that way. But for those of us who know what, just use the spelling to start, search. It may be easier that way. What are your thoughts on, I think the overall discussion we had off mic was Microsoft just reinvesting in Windows Launcher, maybe to something like this concept?
It would be nice if they would. That would be the perfect place to start throwing Copilot out, and start throwing, Copilot integration between your phone and your
Bingo.
PC. I mean, that's something that I miss because I was telling you off mic here before we started. I love my Copilot PCs. I love Copilot on my Windows devices, and I reach for it many times a day. But when I go to my phone, I've got Google Gemini there at just a tap of a button. I don't have to search for Copilot. I don't have to open it. I don't have to make sure I'm signed in. Google Gemini is just baked in. So imagine a world where a Copilot is baked into the launcher. They don't have to produce the phone. It would be nice if they did, but they don't have to produce the phone. They could produce the launcher and integrate Copilot into it. Because, remember, let's go back to good old Surface Duo. I know you were a Surface Duo follower. You had the device, may still have it. They didn't do it then. They produced the hardware idea, but it ran Android. And it had the Microsoft services baked into it. That's kind of where the Microsoft launcher got its start. So let's go do something with the launcher. Let's put Copilot in it. That way, when I search for something on my PC, I can later see what I searched on my PC and possibly pick up the discussion without taking the time to launch it on my phone. People are going to do what is easy, what is convenient. This is proof of it. I touched the side button on my Samsung S25 Ultra. Bam. Gemini's waiting. It's that simple. Now, why won't Microsoft, since we're shoving Copilot down everybody's throats, why won't Microsoft invest a little time, maybe a little money into the Windows launcher for Android and at least give me some Copilot integration? Pretty please.
Yeah, I'm all with you. I think this is where they could rebrand Microsoft Launcher into Copilot Launcher and try all the wacky things that they want to do with Copilot to make and to find out where the consumer catch is for AI. Because right now they're limiting
There's
themselves
not
to
one.
desktop. And there is a productivity mindset for Copilot, which is great if that's the lane they want to take. But Google is getting all of its telemetry from both desktop and from mobile, with Gemini being on both. And I think they'll be better apt to find, hey, here's the consumer thing that people catch on when they're out with their phone. This is what they're asking Gemini to do, versus when they're sitting at a desk. And Microsoft is only locking itself into that. So if you want to do some wacky stuff with Copilot and say, hey, we know this is specifically for consumers. We don't need to even worry about our businesses that are buying Copilot. We just want to see what it is people are doing when they have it out and about, and they're not having to be forced to map the app to that button or scrolling to find the app when they're just quickly trying to do something. It's built into the launcher. We want to put it front and center for your file management on your phone. We want to put it front and center for your photo management on your phone. If we're going to start incorporating, I think their MA1 platform for generative imaging, if they want to start incorporating and gather, again, if this is being cynical, they want to just gather up all your information from your photos. They can do that from your voice records. If they want to have Copilot start being able to translate and do, this is the device you do it on. And this is the way you do it without having to say, hey, we had to build a phone and we raised it in margins. Now we're out of business. No, you make the launcher. You market the launcher. And you let people go out and say, hey, that's, I love Samsung. I love Samsung UI, but this launcher is killing it, man. It has Copilot, and Copilot does all these crazy things down to the keyboard. You update SwiftKey for Copilot, and it's all just one thing. They put it on, they give it access to everything, and now it's their operating system on the phone. Now it's competing with Pixels with their Material UI. It's competing with iOS and their, Arrow / glass, whatever they call their glass version, and it's competing with Samsung one UI. You had at a point tons of millions of downloads. You were the best, if not second best, to Nova Launcher, and people knew it. And you just gave it all away when you gave up on the Surface Duo when you didn't have to. Again, whoever those 30 people are in the closet, keep them employed, have them updated, revise it for Copilot, and say, hey, here's the launcher. This is how the UI looks. We want to, and then again, you tie that UI and that experience, that muscle memory to Windows. So when people are using Copilot, they're used to looking at something that looks similar to Windows. So when they get to the Windows PC, they know how to use Copilot the same or similar way. And they're doing it in a very similar fashion. Those experiences blend over to that, and you can tie that stuff in. I feel like it's a missed opportunity. Satya is always talking about, like, if I can go back in time and I would reinvest in, I'm like, you can do it. You're all talk right now, but you can say, hey, again, 30 people working on Windows Launcher. Here's your new job. Here's your new task. And if it doesn't work, it was a launcher. Tell those 30 people, go back home. We'll dig you. We'll call up your number again in 5 more years. It's not as much as like, hey, we had to manufacture a phone, get marketing, get partnerships with carriers. We had to get it all licensed and approved through certain certifications. No, it's a launcher. Put it out there in the market and let people go with it. But enough of that. Let's talk about what is, and what that is free play days this weekend.
Free play days. I am ready for some free play days. I need a little bit of fun this weekend. So let's jump on in and let's see what we've got here for free play days. Let me get this pulled up for you guys. Okay. Free play days is right here. Okay. We have a big weekend for free play days, whether you've got a Game Pass subscription or not. There's some titles here for folks that do not have a Game Pass subscription. For example, we have Train Sim World 6, the standard edition, is in the free for all lineup. We have Grand Theft Auto Online. I guess I kind of chuckled at that. I'm like, well, you delay the game and you throw Grand Theft Auto Online.
Smart.
Free for the Xbox. So I guess we're trying to figure that out. So we've got Rubber Bandits also, and we've got Soccer Story and Wreckfest. So no matter what you're looking for, we've got something in here that's a little interesting for everybody. So what I always like to remind people of, though, when you're looking at these free play days, sure, you can go to your Xbox.com and you can grab them, or you can navigate over to your account and navigate down the Game Pass and then navigate over the free play days and check those out. But make sure you take advantage of the specials that are on these games. And they put specials on every week. For example, Train Sim World 6 Standard Edition is $34.99. We have Wreckfest is $11.99. We have Rubber Bandits is just $1.99. And Soccer Story is $19.99. So make sure if you find something you like, feel free to take advantage of that special. The specials do run out usually right when free play days is over, so it's kind of you like it, buy it. That's kind of what the developers and Xbox are going for. They're hoping you make that impulse purchase, but if you make that purchase, the discounts in this case are usually worth it, and they're usually worth it from week to week. So what are you going to try out this weekend, if any of those, or are you playing something that you already own?
I am playing a lot, but it's all on my phone these days. It's ironic. I started playing I started playing soccer. I started playing basketball on my phone, just because, again, my girls are pretty active, and so when they're out, I'm the chauffeur. I drive them to their events. Then I get some free time until they're done. So my phone's there. I haven't ventured to take the handheld out to those things specifically, just because sometimes I have to actually do stuff and I don't just leave it somewhere. So I've been playing on my phone. Like I said, I've been playing FC Mobile. I've been playing the basketball mobile as well. I've been playing this dogfight game on my phone as well. But with that being said, I do, because I've been playing soccer, I might try Soccer Story if I can get some free time. I think I might have a little bit of free time this Saturday. Last Saturday, I was out actually reviewing a product I'm going to have a review for. It was yard work stuff. So those of you who are into yard work plus tech, I'll have a review for something on that as well. But yeah, Soccer Story might be the one I'm going to do this weekend if I'm playing a game. How about yourself?
I'm gonna try to get in a little game time. Naturally, what I've had going on the last few weeks, there's not been a whole lot of time for games, but I'm gonna try to, clear the mind a little bit. Now, I think I'm gonna try Train Sim World. There's some of those sim games that are actually pretty good. I think I'm gonna try some Train Sim World, and I think I'm actually gonna see if I can. I have played Battlefield 6 on the surface. Like I said, with everything I've had going on, it's just been get in and play a map or two and, had to go take care of things. But I'm going to try to jump into Battlefield 6 a little deeper this weekend and get involved. And, kind of off subject here, we've got a full streaming setup. So I'm going to give that a run and kind of see where that leads us, So hopefully you'll see some streaming content pop up, and you guys are welcome to come join me. And I'll even tell you where that is. Make sure you meet me on Blue Sky, David PAJ 1978, and I'll let my friend here tell you where he is. I know he is a Hulkster over there, so we'll let him tell you where he is.
Yeah, I'm Happy Hulk at Blue Sky, all one word. The other thing I wanted to say, two things before we close out, and we'll make them very short. They just added Gambit to Marvel Rivals. Aside from the Hulk, he is my second favorite comic book character. So I will be getting back into Marvel Rivals if you guys are interested. So that may be the other thing I'm playing this weekend is I'll be playing the combo of Hulk and / Gambit. I tried to jump back in the game when they had Ember Frost, but I couldn't master, so I gave up. But they brought back Gambit, and so if I could change my screen name to anybody else, it'd be probably Gambit or Remy LeBeau. So I'll be playing that. The other thing I wanted to mention was, again, for those of you who are fans, friends, and just interested in David, I suggest you go hang out this weekend. Give him some words of encouragement, both about his personal situation and getting him up and going for streaming. I think it'll be a nice distraction. And even if you just want to talk, maybe share your own stories as well, I think he'd be up for that. So I want you guys to, aside from enjoying whatever you're going to do this weekend, be it food, be it the weather, which is getting cooler for some people. Maybe you're not a cold person, go to a warmer climate. But if you are someone, again, with climate change being as it is, it's nice to have a break from the heat. Go out and enjoy the weather. Go out and enjoy, walking your dog, listening to music, cutting the grass, whatever it is you're going to be doing outside. If you're going to be indoors, give my buddy a chat and see how his weekend is. Hopefully he'll be enjoying it as best he can. We want to thank you guys all for hanging out with us, coming back after we took a week off. We will see you again next week, hopefully, with more Microsoft news. Maybe there'll be even more legitimate Microsoft news and not just tangential stuff. But have a good weekend, everybody.
Have a good weekend, folks. Thanks for listening and watching.